Well, it's Valentine's Day 2025, and this band's been at it for 51 years now, 1974 up until, yeah, like I said, 2025. John, right off the bat, how exhausting is it to be touring today rather than like 10 years ago? You guys are all over the place.
What was that? Well, we're good. We had some pretty hairy stretches last year for sure. Uh, 43 US dates in about like 46 days. We had like 3 days off, which were driving days. Uh, I think the South American one was pretty hardcore. You'd get up about 6, van to the airport, fly, 4 or 5 hours, get there, sound check, maybe grab an hour or two of sleep, do the gig, go to bed, wake up 3, 4 hours later, go to the airport, do it again, do it again, do it again, do it again for
I'm,
like 12 days. So we were kind of, I don't know what was up or down by the end of that.
I'm sure the Raven Analytic team has done their homework. How many concerts has the band done in their career?
Oh, I don't know. I believe it's like 3,000 plus.
And counting. Any countries that you haven't played that you want to play?
Oh yeah, never played New Zealand, never played Romania, never played Bulgaria, never played Russia, Ukraine, out of Mongolia, the Aleutian Islands, and you know,
And why haven't you played those places? Just opportunity or routing or all the above?
I've been chasing these guys with weapons for years, and they don't answer my phone calls. Just opportunity, really. Uh, Supposedly we were going to do New Zealand on that last run. It never really came together. But there are lots of other places. I mean, we did Singapore for the first time last year. We did Peru for the first time. We did Paraguay for the first time. So there's always these firsts that we're always looking to do because it's cool. It's always great going to a new place, new adventure.
Oh, sure. Those are the crumbs that keep you going. It's like, oh, this tour. Let's try to get 5 places. John, how is the touring landscape changed from 40 years ago? Like, what's working now that possibly in the past you didn't have, and vice versa?
Well, generally in most of the other countries, they've kind of tried to catch up because the US was always the gold standard for touring. Back in the bad old days in the 80s, like when we toured with Girls' School in 82, it was, virtually impossible to get a meal after the show.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, you know, Pubs and what have you always closed at like 10:30 and everything. If you were very lucky, you'd get a toasted sandwich at the hotel if you were very lucky. Uh, those things kind of changed. Things are a lot more open. I mean, famously, we're on tour in Germany, and I believe it's a part of April where there's like 1 or 2 days off every week in the month. There's some religious holiday because they've got the hardcore Catholic holidays. It's like, oh, it's Saint whoever's day, so all the shops close at 12 noon, and it was like, again we have a day off, and every time we had a day off, it was one of these holidays, and there was nothing to do. You
Oh,
you couldn't
sure,
go
sure.
anywhere, and nothing was open whatsoever.
So Valentine's Day, the new one, a Valentine's Day massacre that they're calling it. It's Can't Take the Fire Away. It's a 8-song EP, 5 new originals, 3 classic live cuts. Tell us about it, John. Why the title? What's the meaning behind it?
Well, can't take away the fire is definitely 50 years in the business related for sure. Uh, you can't. The fire is there and it's burning brighter than ever. So, a couple of things for the EP. One was a logistic thing because Mike moved, and we're writing and planning to do a new album. and we knew he wouldn't have it ready, and it was going to create a delay. So we figured we'd get in before he tore it all down and get something recorded so we could fill that little gap and keep the ball rolling while
Hmm.
we're putting that together. So there was that, and of course the 50th anniversary. I mean, technically this should have come out in December, but things, as they do, dragged out a little. So we thought it would be fun just to put a couple of legacy tracks on, just to show, you know, over 40 years that we're just as mental, if not more, than we were back then. So you've got a track from 84, you've got a track from 91, and you've got a track from 22.
And it's almost like the chapters of Raven, because the 84 is Wacko, the 91 Joe's on drums, and the 22 is Mike at the Dingbat show that first time we met down in
There you go.
22 down
Yeah.
there. So, you're chapterizing. And in a way, John, it's sort of like leads me to my next question. Do I dare say this new Heller chapter for the last since he's been in 17? Is it the best Ravens been?
We're incredibly happy with how it's worked out. Mike's been such a catalyst and brought an awful lot of energy into the game, and we're just going from strength to strength. The last tour, we're playing phenomenally, having such a good time, and these songs really point to where we're going. We raised the bar again. Um, the first song that's on the CP is a track called Black and Blue, and it will leave you black and blue. It's the most intense thing I think we've ever done. It's absolutely nuts.
Really?
And by
Why?
the
Why?
same
Why is
token,
that? Why
uh,
is it the heaviest thing you've ever done?
it's very fast, very intense, and just out there. Uh, Something like.
That's now, that I was going to ask when Mike joined the band, he injects some energy, he's younger. But what pleasant surprise have you noticed after all these years that you're like, you know what? This is like a bonus from having Mike in the band. What's the
Well,
surprise of this?
it's nice to be able to pick up any song from any previous, version of the band, as it were, and go, oh, this is a cool song, let's do this. Where maybe before it might have been a bit of an issue. Uh, it's a strange setup in a sense at the moment because we've never rehearsed with Mike once. Not once.
What,
It's
what do you mean
just
you've never rehearsed? Like
we've
a
never
tour?
rehearsed.
A tour you don't rehearse? Well,
No.
you and Mark, God, you
Yeah, I
don't
mean,
need to.
individually, we'll kind of, just brush up on parts and stuff. But as far as like, okay, we're going to have the 3 week rehearsals before we go on tour. No,
Well,
we
you
went
got
and
to.
we did the Wiped Out album and the All for One album shows. Okay, learn the songs. Right, go. Maybe the first sound check. You sure about this one? Let's play it through.
Yeah.
Uh, and then just drop all three of us in at the deep end and see if we can swim our way out at the end. Uh, and it's worked. So what can I tell you?
See, well, Mike's a pro's pro. Not that the other guys weren't, but Mike has the resume speaks for itself. But you mentioned that you could go to any song. Let me ask you, John, what are some underrated Raven songs that people may have looked over or just not aware of? Some of your
Oh,
favorites.
there's many that we haven't even got to play. I mean, 50th anniversary tour last year, we decided, well, let's play something we've never played in forever, which was Inquisitor, which is one of the first songs we ever wrote.
Mm-hmm.
So it seemed logical to play it on this anniversary tour. And that was great. And we put a couple of little surprises in it, changed the arrangement very slightly, and oh, it was awesome. But as far as other ones, I mean, when Mark's checking his guitar, he nearly always plays the riff from Get Your Motor Running off the Everything Louder album.
Mm-hmm.
And that would be a fun song to do, for sure. Uh, I don't know. There are so many.
So
That
many.
album in particular has some great songs. Blind Eye is a good one. Another one gets thrown around is Into the Jaws of Death from you know, Nothing Exceeds Like My Breasts, as it were.
Uh, Tell us about the new songs. Are they leftovers from Metal City or All Hell's Breaking Loose, or are they parts of songs?
No, like one and a half of them were stuff that we were looking at for All Hell's Breaking Loose, and they weren't together.
Hmm.
And the other ones were written specifically for this. So that's good. You know, there's always stuff floating around. I mean,
Sure.
we probably could have done another 5 or 6 EPs from the songs floating around from All Hell's Breaking Loose if we'd wanted to. But you know, some of them were just we'll look at it at another time. You know, I'll be going through some of that stuff because you know we had 30 odd songs and maybe half of them were in a position where we could say, okay, these are pretty much together. And from that, we said, okay, what would be a great start song? What would be a great ending? How would we pre-sequence this? And then we basically recorded those songs, put them in that sequence, and maybe switched one of them around with another just to make it flow better. And as far as the others, you know, we'll see. There's a not exactly a graveyard, but there's kind of a warehouse like the one at the end of the Raiders of the Lost Ark that kind of has songs in it. So, you know, there's a lot of stuff in there floating around.
Oh, of course. You're creators. There's always stuff. You're releasing 1,000 of these CDs signed by the band. What's the philosophy behind that?
Because 1,000 left my hand like this, and any more would have been worse. So that was enough. Uh, they just wanted to make it special overall. You know, there was some mumble of vinyl, but we'll see what happens with that. I don't know.
How does that
Uh,
really work? Everyone's on this vinyl bandwagon now. Cost versus actual selling. Has Raven found that it's profitable and worth the energy?
yeah, it's actually been, especially for us selling them on the road. Yeah, it's been very profitable actually. But people want to have all the formats. They want the CD, which they'll play. They want the vinyl for just as a collection thing, really, and to see the art in,
Hmm.
you know, large. But there, you know, there's people out there that have got good sound systems, and let's face it, vinyl is the way to go. It does, if it's mastered right for it, it sounds phenomenal.
Oh, of
So
course.
why not? And it
Unfortunate.
kicks into that whole thing with the experience of putting it on and not farting around changing tracks. You listen to it as it was meant to be heard from start to finish. So, you know.
Oh, and sure. And then, you guys in this third chapter, the album art you're doing, there's tons of visuals there. There's a old school, you're reading it, you're looking at it. Yeah, definitely. I totally subscribe to that.
Yeah,
Uh,
you know, very big fans of that, and you know that, and like I said, pre-sequencing and having taken the listener on a journey. You know,
mhm.
that's what the old stuff always did for us as kids. You know, you'd be completely immersed in what was going on. It wasn't background noise. I'm not a fan of background noise. I'd rather have silence. And if there's music on, I want to put my attention on it. And if it's music I hate, I want to smash it.
That's funny that you say the silence because as I get older, I enjoy silence rather than noise or background noise. And you're right. You just it'll keep
Yeah,
things
yeah.
quiet.
I think you have to give it its due. It's you know it needs full attention. And
Are, are
I
are we
try to do that when I buy stuff now. I'll try and set time aside and go, okay, I'm doing nothing but listening to this. And in our world now, it's a lot harder to do that. There's so many distractions, and everyone's attention span has been whittled away. You know,
oh,
so you have to try harder, but it's worth it.
what are you listening to that would surprise us?
What have I got here? I got a pile of stuff I've been getting.
And what are you buying? Are you buying albums? Are you CDs? All right, Tori Amos.
Fantastic live album. Absolutely
Mm,
fantastic. And then go a little older,
Jimmy.
Jimmy.
Okay, all right.
Uh, I got to check this out. Donald Fagen.
Yep. Yeah,
Listen
Donna
to a
Fig.
lot. Steely Dan. Classic Genesis.
What's that? Lamb lies
Arm
down on
Lies
Broadway.
Down on
Yep.
Broadway.
All right, all right.
Awesome album. All kinds of stuff. So.
If you had a chance to collaborate with musicians in the metal arena or not, what would be your dream collaboration team?
Oh, jeez.
I
I'm
know
happy.
it's huge.
I'm happy to collaborate with anyone. It's always fun having someone that you've never worked with. They bring something different to the table. You hopefully bring something, and you create something, more than the sum of its parts. Uh, there was the one collaboration that would have been wonderful that never happened. There was this guy somewhere in Indiana, and he must have had deep pockets. He was putting a project together, and he wanted me on it, and he had Martin Barr from Jethro Tull
Hmm.
and a few other guys, and he wanted to bring us all in and spend like about a month. And it sounded wonderful. And then it all fell apart with the pandemic. But
Oh,
to meet with Martin would have been fantastic. I would have loved
yeah,
that.
yeah.
What
Hey,
what a killer player that guy is.
oh, of
So,
course.
and I do. I've done a project. There's a thing called Helms Deep. We did the first album. I just finished the tracks on the second one. The guy Alex, who it's his baby, is just has the craziest riffs. It's like Iron Maiden on crack being chased by a ferret. Uh, and lots and lots of people. The list is too long. You know.
Yeah. Wrapping up the new EP. Are we touring? Is it just something to carry over to the new full length? What's the plans?
Yeah, it carries over to the new one. It points to where we're going. And, like I say, we've got the album to do. Mark is going to be having an ankle operation at the end of March. We have a festival March 20th, Hell's Heroes in Houston, which
Mm-hmm.
is a big deal. It's a big European style festival, which is awesome. And once that's done, he's going to have them give him a bionic ankle. So he has to get over that, and then we'll be writing and recording through
Yep.
there. We've got dates booked for September in Europe. We're booking that, and hopefully the States either right before that or right after it. But that's all concurrent on. Let's see how the album thing's going. We need to knuckle down and get that together.
I wanted to ask you, what does John Gallagher do outside when Raven shut down and there's no Raven admin to do? What are your hobbies? You lived in the States for 40 years. Not to pry in your personal life, but do you have a family? Do you have hobbies? Do you have a sports team? What does John Gallagher do outside of Raven?
Oh, not too much to be honest. It's pretty all encompassing. If we're not touring, I'm either making guitars or fixing guitars or
Okay.
trying to come up with ways to make stuff that my brother can't break stuff, which is quite a challenge. Yeah, I got a son who's 33 at this point. A daughter who's like she's going to be 30 in next month. Yeah. Uh, you know, we're working. When I'm not working, I'm with my girlfriend. She's out in England, back in my hometown.
Okay.
She was over. We were actually hiking the Hollywood Hills like a couple of days before the fires broke out. But don't blame me. It wasn't my
I,
fault.
I'm not saying anything, but where there's smoke, there's fire. You
Yeah.
crazy Brits. I don't know what you're up to.
So
Yeah.
that was a shock, and then again, it wasn't because you could tell it wasn't going to take much to set all that lot of fire. It was so dry and ridiculous. Yeah.
There's a couple things I want to touch on, and let's start at the beginning. Why haven't more bands like yourself hooked up with some of these mega veteran bands like you had the chance to open for Metallica? How come those doors don't open? How come there's not any more of the bringing some of the legacy acts or the legacy acts bringing some of the pioneers? Is it all
Because
dollars?
it's not up to the bands. If it was up to the bands, it would happen. Uh we've had the opportunity to with Metallica on two separate occasions, and on one of them we asked them, and it made sense for them because it was hard to turn them down if they've already sold out a 70,000 seat stadium. They could put Mickey Mouse on as an opening act; it wouldn't matter, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
uh, when they've got Live Nation and all this lot booking a stadium tour, uh, they at least feel that they need to have an act that's, ticks all the boxes as far as how many streams do they have on Spotify and what's their social media status and all this other nonsense.
Yeah.
Uh, and it's, I've literally heard that from the horse's mouth. Dave Mustaine was one of the guys that told me this, literally said if it was up to me, just, but it's not. Says we have to, you know, go along with what we're told by
Yeah.
the movers and shakers who put this stuff together. Uh, and like I say, the thing that happened with playing in Fort Lauderdale with Metallica, we met with James, and as a parting shot, I just said, "Hey, we're available. You ever need us?" And he just said, "Well, we're thinking of doing something. I'll let you know in a few weeks." Boom, and he did. You know,
Yeah,
so.
it lined up. It happened. It lined up. It made sense, and it was a one off, if you will. Even though you mentioned you
Oh
played a
yeah, and
few
we're
times.
obviously incredibly grateful for the opportunity to do that. It's wonderful, but you know it's a weird thing, and usually it's been the personal connection. I mean, we finally played with Saxon back in 2016 at a festival in Poland, and I buttonholed Biff and I goes, "You need to have us open up for you." Yeah, well, we've got such they're rub. You need us. You need us. And you go, yeah, yeah, yeah. We'll see what we can do. And the next year he tried, and it didn't make sense. And the following year we worked it out, and it was phenomenal. It was so good.
Now, what wouldn't have worked out? What didn't make sense?
It didn't make sense because of the money involved. There was literally no money in it for us whatsoever, and
Okay,
we'd already had some stuff booked that we would have had to cancel to do this, and
yeah.
it was a bit of a clash. But when we finally got it together in 2018, it was fantastic. We went over and did like 20, 30 dates before we started with them. And then we went with them for like another 25, 30 dates. And fantastic. Absolutely fantastic.
God, it's been a tough week for the new wave of or the traditional the British heavy metal scene from the '80s. The passing of John Sykes and Keith Stashfield just this week. These are your contemporaries. And as a godfather of the movement, the new wave of British heavy metal movement, I fumbled those words. Reflect on these two gentlemen because you grew up with these guys. Sorry for your
Yeah,
loss.
Keith was in a band called Warbeck way back in the day. Then they formed a band called Axe and they changed their name to Fist.
Yep.
And they had a single out on Neat right before we did. They had name, rank, and serial number. And You'll Never Get Me Up in one of those, which was the B-side. And they were a great band. And they were older than us. They were a few years older. So, we certainly looked up to them. When we started for sure. Uh, and Keith was just a great songwriter, had a very distinctive voice. quite a force of nature. And, they ended up signing a major deal and getting ground down and depressed and, burned out from it, which was a shame. Uh, and I know Keith had had some health issues over the years, but he certainly made his mark. And he
Hmm.
was Northeast royalty for sure. A very sad loss. And as for John, John, made it all the way to the top. He wrote all the music on the Whitesnake 1987 album with Coverdale, so, and we knew him when he joined the Tigers.
Yep.
Actually, his first show with the Tigers was playing with us in
Really?
a little hall in Wallsend. And he came up and said, what do you think of the Tigers? Well, like, oh yeah, yeah, they're good. He goes, yeah, I don't. He says, I'm just here because where I was working on the roads in Blackpool. He says, I'll do anything rather than work on the roads in the winter. He says, so, let's see where this goes. And of course, within a year or two, he jumped. He was playing with Lizzie and hanging out with Gary Moore and stealing the rest of his riffs.
Allegedly.
Which he admitted to 100%. But he was a very larger than life character. And once he had a few drinks, he'd get into a lot of trouble.
What about your buddy Nico McBrain retiring from Maiden? Did you hear any of this beforehand? Do you keep in touch with Nico?
Yeah,
Or
there was lots of talk that he was kind of having to dumb down his parts when they
yeah,
were playing. He wasn't doing everything, and it was just like, God bless the guy. He's that age. He's had a stroke, and he's back out on the road. That's like nuts. And he was smart enough to say, I'm done. I can't play at the level that I once would play at. And that's the time where you take the bow. And he's deserves all the accolades. He's a wonderful drummer, an amazing character, funny guy, and
yeah,
he's earned the opportunity to put his feet up and just say, "Okay, boys, carry on. I'll watch from the sidelines."
yeah, he has nothing to prove. And I'm not even in a band, but I don't like traveling that much anymore. And it doesn't matter that you're traveling in first class. Well, it does matter that you're private
No,
jets.
it makes a huge difference.
Yeah,
For
but
for
it's
sure.
but it's still, still tough. A couple last questions. The 40-year anniversary of Stay Hard. Any any reflections on that? What's the one regret that you have about that era? Because
Stay hard, nothing. The only regret I have is that we signed with Atlantic, and they were as ridiculous as they were when it got to the next record. Uh, After time and reflection, I've come to believe that the majority of people that worked at that record company were only there for three purposes: to get drunk, to get laid, and to do drugs. And it had very little to do with the music business, to the point that they were more rock and roll party than the bands were.
yeah, yeah. Raven was you don't have to spill your secrets, but you guys weren't that far into any of that scene, were you?
No, I'm
No.
not me personally. No, I mean, I don't even drink.
Mm-mm.
So somebody would come up after show. Hey man, love the show. You want some Coke? I'm like, no, I've got 7 Up. I'm good. Thank you very much. And
Yeah.
walk away from that. Uh, but a lot of other people obviously were ended up being casualties. So you've got that angle. You've got the record companies trying to change them and failing miserably. And then the band ends up with a drug problem and owing 50 to $100,000 because they didn't sell records. And oh well, I guess we got to break up. It's the only way they can escape that obligation. So that happened to a lot of people, you know.
Oh,
And
sure.
luckily, one of the few things we had sorted out good financially was the ability to avoid a lot of that. So when things did get a little rough, it wasn't, Mark, John, and Rob being personally responsible. Thank God.
About 20 years ago, Mark had the construction accident. What does celebrating 50 years with Raven mean to you with your brother?
It's humbling. It's amazing, and it's confounding because I can't believe it's that long.
Hmm.
It was brought home to me when somebody showed me a list of bands and how long they'd been together, and we were in the top 10. And it's like, no, ZZ Top, Aerosmith, please, Rolling Stones, and Ravens in with that. It's just like, so that really hit it home a little more, you know. So we have that dichotomy of we're all old bastards, we're a legacy band, but we're not
No,
because we're
you're
making new music and we're pushing forward, and it's all, you know, regarding the future. So unlike a lot of bands of our age, we're not, you know, celebrating and looking back all the time. It's looking forward. But
sure.
we've got that history and legacy to celebrate as well. So that's a kind of a cool thing, you know.
Oh, sure. You guys, you put out music and you play it, and you play two or three or four songs and you rotate it. That's always that's just awesome. What's challenges of working with Mark? Can't be rosy all the time, but any challenges with him?
Not really. He's you know, we're different people. I'm more studied and methodical, and he's more uh lightning in a bottle. You know, I'll come up with something and work on it and work on it and work on it, and he'll just famously float up and play a song from start to finish off the top of his head. I mean, I remember sitting there gobsmacked, as they say, like, "Grr," as he played Die for Allah from start to finish, completely improvised the entire song. And there was another song called Insane off the Everything Louder album. He did the same thing, just played the whole song all the way through. And it's just like, where did that come from? Because I don't know, but I'm pleased you recorded it.
Yeah. Well, that's that unwritten
And then
chemistry.
when we bounce ideas off each other, it's, you know, anything can happen. It's great, you know.
Well, that's awesome. The new one, Can't Take the Fire Away EP, only 1,000 of them printed, signed by the band. John could attest because his hand still hurts. Comes out the 14th everywhere. Silver Lining Music. John, what's the best way to stay in touch with Raven?
You can us up
RavenLunatics.com.
on Official Raven on Facebook and Instagram. You can chase me, John Gallagher Raven, on Facebook.
Yeah.
Ravenlunatics.com is the website. And don't come knocking at my door, or I'll hit you with a guitar.
All right, I'll stay away. All right, man. Enjoy the weekend. Thanks for adjusting your schedule and getting us in.
Not a problem. All the
All
best,
right.
everyone. We'll see you soon.
Talk to you soon, bud. Thanks.
Cheers, man.
Bye.
Metal for Life.
Thank you for listening to Metal Mayhem ROC. Check out our website at metalmayhemroc.com for information on podcasts, archives, links to all our live radio shows, and all sorts of info. Please like, follow, and share with everyone, even your non-metal friends. And always remember to keep it heavy.